Oh hi, I'm Rosie and this is a channel where I make my life more difficult than it needs to be by using the yarn in this box to knit the patterns in these magazines. Let's go. If you're new here, welcome. This is a personal project where I try to use up this small but not insignificant stash of yarn that has been laying in wait since the 1980s in my mother-in-law's house. She's gifted it to me along with her collection of retro knitting magazines dating from the early 80s right through to the early 90s. The next few months to I don't know how long of my life is going to be trying to make as many of these patterns as I can while not letting this yarn here go to waste. It's currently September, and no, this is not going to be an autumn themed video, nor will you be seeing one from me because if you've been here before, then you may remember I live in Mexico. I'm English, but I moved here with my husband a little while ago. We live in the town where he grew up in central Mexico. While this is very much the northern hemisphere and it is autumn right now, it doesn't look like this. So as you can see, the sun is shining, the leaves are green, and they're going to be for a while. So that typical autumnal vibe it's not here. What that means for me as a knitter is that I do not need to be knitting hats, gloves and scarves, which is kind of a shame because I love to knit and wear hats, gloves and scarves, but I won't be doing so this year. What I would like to talk about though is the finished item that I'm wearing. You did see this in the last video. If you'd like to see more about the process of making this item, go have a look at episode number 2. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. This might be the most autumnal thing you see in this video, actually. It's very autumn coded, this colour, and I love the colour. I don't know whether if I'd seen this in a shop, whether I would have bought it for myself. But I'm nonetheless very glad that I've made it, and that's, I think, one of the magical things about being a knitter or a crafter of any kind, and also about the kind of thing that I'm doing here, looking at these old patterns. Again, I chose the pattern because it was one that I knew would work, right? I was constrained by the yarn that I had and the patterns that I placed those constraints on myself. I made the rules. I loved the way that it's come out. I enjoyed the process. And I've got something that I otherwise probably wouldn't have in my wardrobe, and that's kind of what this is all about, you know, trying new things, rescuing some of these patterns from the depths of time in some sort of way, you know? So now that I've had a chance to wear this a few times, I wanted to note a couple of things. First of all, the fabric, no problem at all. I was genuinely concerned, even once I had finished making it, that this fabric was just not going to be comfy. And it is. It's genuinely fine. Things that I might have done differently if I did this again. Firstly, the big one is just the fit. And I know this is an issue that I've already mentioned a bunch of times, and it's going to keep cropping up because all of these patterns that I'm going to be making are like at least 40 years old, more or less. And so, as you can see, it's fairly obvious to see that this garment fits differently on me than it does on the model in the magazine. I'll put a picture here or here. Personally, I'm fine with it. I like the way this item fits. It's just less drapey than the one that's given here. So I'm fine with it, but yeah, I am conscious going forward of the fact that I will probably be modifying all patterns in terms of fit, just in order to, you know, to not waste my time and not waste this yarn on making things that don't fit, because that's crazy. So that's one thing. The other thing is I was supposed to put elastic in various places, and I didn't in the end. I didn't use the elastic. I thought when I was reading the pattern for the first time that the elastic was supposed to go here, and it's not, but I think I'm going to put it here anyway because it's a little bit saggy in the neckline. There's a little bit of this. I don't think it would hurt to add that elastic here at the top of the neckline anyway. I was supposed to add elastic here. I was supposed to add elastic here around the bottom of the waist, and again, I haven't done it. I don't think it's necessary because the fit just isn't nearly as oversized. I guess I could give it a go, couldn't I? See if that changes anything. What I guess it's supposed to do is make the body portion of the sweater fold over or fall over in the same way that these sleeves do. I don't know that that would happen. I don't know that there's enough spare fabric in there for that to happen, but yeah, you never know. But yeah, otherwise, really happy. I'm happy with my unconventional fit. I've still got a little bit of patchwork going on here. I'm super happy with the colour, love this colour. And yeah, there it is. There's my mesh sweater. Now, at the end of the last video, I was undecided about which pattern I was going to make next, but I had decided to use this yarn. And I have chosen a pattern. It is this one. So this was my favourite all along. It took a while for me to decide if it was going to work. But yeah, I've settled on this one. I'll show you in this video how that's going. So yeah, that's September for you. Here we go, let's get knitting. So it seems like this pattern's not going to be too hard to follow. There's a good couple of paragraphs here, and there's a schematic. Basically, I'm just going to make this item in 2 pieces, front and back, sew them together, and then you have to pick up around the collar and around the sleeves and just add a few centimeters of ribbing because it's technically sleeveless. It's just got a little bit like down to there. And that's it. So again, it seems simple enough. Now obviously, this is an intarsia pattern. There's colour work in here, but here's what there is. There's a lovely schematic here in the middle of the magazine. And guess what? No one's used this. I guess Lulu didn't make any of these colour work patterns or cable patterns because this is supposed to come out of the magazine and it's still intact. Honestly, I feel bad about ripping it out, but I need to if I want to make this pattern. Oh, don't rip it, Rosie. Those staples were rusty. Get back in. Ta-da. So I need side B, side A. Side B. It's in here somewhere. Right, this one. Here it is. The pattern that I have chosen is from a 1988 issue of Burda. Burda. It's a German magazine, but the issue is I don't have these colours in my stash of yarn. So I want to make a version in a colour scheme using yarn that I already have. So here's what I've got so far. I have this yarn, which is going to be the background colour. It's a cotton blend with cotton, viscose, polyester and acrylic. And I'll try and put it closer so you can see. It has sort of several textures running through it because of all those different fibre contents. Several textures and several colours. So it's quite an interesting yarn. It's also quite soft. I think it's going to be nice to wear. I think it's also going to be nice to work with. And it's relatively lightweight. It is 50 grams and it has 125 meters. So given that this is kind of a summer project and it's still warm here where I live, I think this yarn's quite appropriate for this. But the issue I have is I don't know what colours to put together with this one. I've got a few options. I have this red cotton. This is from Lulu's stash, but I don't think it's a 1980s yarn. She's bought it since. I've got this pink. This, I believe, is a 100% merino. I used this to make a hat a few years ago and I've got this left over. It's about 30 something grams. I have this very dark purple. It kind of looks black, but it is a purple. Very nice. Also, it's left over from something I made at some point. I have this blue. Belongs to one of my grandmothers.
I'm pretty sure. So anyway, this blue, I've got more of this. I've got a 50-gram skein plus this. It's a cotton linen blend, I believe. It's got a bit of a thick, thin texture. So do you see my problem? I just can't decide. What I have done is made a swatch. At the moment, I think I'm leaning towards red and blue. What do you think? I could go for red and purple. My only worry is that I'm really just not sure this is enough. So the only two that I know I have 50 grams of are these ones. And I do think they work. There's both red and blue in this. So I think it works. So guess what? For now I'm still undecided. But what I'm going to do is go and block this swatch. Whatever happens, there's going to be several different yarns in this project. Well, 3. But they're all going to be different and I would like to know how they behave. So that's what I'm going to go and do.
So there are patterns for this yarn, but they ask for in the region of 15 skeins and I have 6. So I'm going to have to be a bit creative with this one. That's one thing I'm actually enjoying about this project. Actually, it sounds like kind of a drag to always have to be adapting things or substituting or whatever. Personally, I really like that. Yeah, I'm enjoying having to sort of figure out the solutions. I've said that now on camera. I'm sure you'll see me get annoyed with having to figure out these solutions later, but anyway, for now, it's all good. So, I found one pattern in a different edition of El Gato magazine, the same one I used last time for this sweater. This is the edition and it hasn't got a front cover, so I don't know the year. But what it does have is this beautiful pattern on the last page. I'll put a picture here so it's clearer. And this pattern is a lovely kind of all over lace, quite elegant, long sleeved, rather fitted jumper. And it calls for more yarn than I have, but I had thought maybe if I made it short sleeved, that I might just about have enough. So I went ahead and swatched. So here's my swatch for this lace pattern. It's a very simple lace pattern, as you can see. I'll put you out of the misery. The bad news is it's not going to work. I am a bit sad about this because this pattern's lovely. Maybe I'll come back and make it another time with some different yarn. But basically I did the maths. This used 3 grams of the 240 that I have, and I figured out how many meters that was and blah 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 blah. Anyway, did the maths, and quite conclusively I do not have enough yarn to make that pattern. So I guess this is why you swatch, huh? I think before making this video, I don't think I'd ever blocked a swatch in my life, by the way. And now I've just blocked 2 in 1 month. Who am I? But I've had an idea. I've had an idea which might save me because I was thinking, I've looked through them all, right? I've looked through all the magazines looking for something that would use a fuzzy mohairish yarn but also wouldn't use too many skeins. Either it would be like loose and lacy, or it would have short sleeves, or maybe even no sleeves, and there's not anything like that. just haven't found anything, which is a shame. You know, when you've got something in your head, you're like, oh, this would work. I hope it exists, and it doesn't exist. But here's what I thought. I have this yarn that I clearly don't have enough of. I haven't really got around to thinking about this yarn yet, but I've only got 4 of them, and I think the same problem is going to crop up. I really don't have enough. 400 gram skeins of probably DK weight yarn. What am I going to make with that? But wouldn't these work together? I mean, the colouring is good to me. I like this. And if I used both of them for a project, yeah, I think that would totally work. One thing is that this green one, it's quite a bit thinner. Let me try and show you. Can you see? The green one's thinner. But what I do think is if I held the green double, I think that would work. I think that would work out for the weight being similar enough. Here it is. So it would be like that. I personally am optimistic that that would work. What that does mean if I hold this one double is I've got 3 of these and 4 of these. So 7 total. Would that be enough? I hope so. 7, like 700 grams. Should be, shouldn't it? I really think that should be enough. But yeah, it's going to take some digging through the magazines. So first I'm going to look for a piece that is actually a 2-colour colour work, would work in these colours, and has the correct quantities of yarn. Not asking for much, am I? Yeah. Alternatively, if that doesn't materialise, if that doesn't turn out to exist in this 10-year stack of magazines, then what I'll look for next is a knitted DK garment that is not made in colour work but would look good with stripes. That could be the saving grace for this yarn. Maybe I can just make something in stripes. Yeah, awesome. I like stripes. I'm very on board with stripes. So yeah, that's my plan for these 2 yarns going forward. Yeah, that's it. So I thought you might like a quick update about how this project is going. I've got to the end of the ribbing section and I'm about to change needles up to 3.5mm. This was on 2.5mm needles, and start with the colour work. I started out on these straight needles, but as you can see, they're not nearly long enough, which is a shame. Like, I kind of wanted to do it on straight needles for like authenticity or something, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
it's not going to change how it looks. And I also think that, can you see how bunched up these stitches are? With them being that close together, and then trying to also do the colour work, that's going to be more difficult than it needs to be. So we're going to switch to some bigger needles first, size up, and then carry on immediately working the colour work from the chart. That does lead me on to, I think I've made a decision about the colours. Here it is, kind of looks the same, honestly. Blocking didn't do a whole amount, didn't make anything super different. What this did illuminate to me is that I think purple is out of the running. It's just a little bit thinner than the rest of them, a little bit finer, and when I stretch it very slightly, you can just see through it, and I don't like that. So purple's out of the running. I think I was leaning towards this one more because I know that it's a similar composition to this one. They're both cotton blends and it's a similar weight and texture, and I know that I have more than enough of it. I was thinking, is that a good enough reason? I don't think it is. I think I need to go with the colours that, I don't know, that feel good to me, and more importantly, the colours that I want to wear. This colour, okay, it's very similar to the colour I'm wearing right now, but typically this is not my colour. Like, look at it. This doesn't do a lot for me. Whereas these warmer colours, I feel are much more like my kind of palette. This is more something I would like to wear, and I think they go together really nicely. They're different enough that they're going to stand out enough, I think, but similar enough, like it's in the same palette. It's going to, I feel, bring out the warm undertones of this one a lot nicer. So yeah, I've decided I'm going with this one. One of the things that made me unsure whether this would work is that the pattern calls for 50 grams. This is about 35 grams. But I worked out the yardage. The label's long gone, but I weighed a little bit, worked out the yardage, and it's actually really close to the yardage that's given in the pattern. So honestly, I think it's fine. So these are going to be my colours. I've decided. There it is. Oh hi. It's been a few days and I've made a little bit of progress here. You can see I've got a couple of inches into the colour work. I don't know what it is. I don't think I like the colours after all. I like them when I see the skeins together. I enjoy them like that. But the more progress I make and the more the colours come out here, I think I don't really like the choice that I made. I think what it is that these two colours are not different enough. I think they're too similar in tone, and at the same time, the fabric is different. This one is wool and this one is cotton, and so like at the same time they're a bit too different. This one being cotton and a very bright colour, it has kind of a sheen to it, and this one being 100% wool, it's very matte, and I feel like when they're next to each other that really gets accentuated. I'm going to sleep on it because I don't know, I want to feel a bit more sure. But yeah, what I think I'm going to do is keep the red and switch this out for the blue after all. I think that's going to look better. The last time that I recorded, I was feeling really unsure about my colour choices. I said I was gonna sleep on it and then maybe undo it. In the end, I did unravel it and I started again. I've changed the colours. Let me show you. I've gone with the blue and the red, and I love it. I'm so much happier with this version than I was with the red pink version.
It was so hard to say, to put into words what was off with it. It just didn't quite feel right. I just didn't quite like the combination. And I feel so much happier with this one. I'm not someone who knows a lot about colour theory and all that stuff. I feel like there are probably reasons why this shouldn't work, but I don't care. I like it. But the colour work is proving really nice to follow. It's quite an intuitive pattern. Like, I don't have to be checking too much because it's really very regular. It's just lines. Yeah, it's really nice to work with. It's flowing quite nicely. I'm enjoying working with all these yarns together. No problems really. When I started again, I did take that opportunity to change another couple of things. The first is I added a couple more stitches. I had increased evenly across this row when I transitioned to the stocking stitch. And in the end, I added a couple more on the end anyway. So I added more than I was supposed to again. So this is now sized up a little from the larger size. I think this must be a 44 by now. Not that that really means anything. The other thing that I chose to change slightly was the way that I'm approaching this colour work. So I know that the rule is if you're doing intarsia, you need to have a separate ball or bobbin of yarn for each section of colour, right? And going across this work, there are 7 or at times 8 different sections of colour. So I did that. I had 8 different bobbins going along, and then I decided that was stupid. Why was I doing that? Because it's one main colour and the colourwork pieces are only ever 8 stitches across. Rather than separating all this background colour into separate bobbins or balls, I haven't actually got bobbins, they're just balls of yarn. I decided to carry my yarn across the back like you would if you were doing stranded colour work. And it's working out fine. I know it's not really what you're supposed to do, but I've done it and it's all good. And it's all going a lot faster and it's a lot more enjoyable this way. Because they were getting way tangled when I was trying to do it the other way. But while I was thinking about doing it, I coincidentally saw someone else's work where they had done it, and this was like a very experienced knitter, so I take that as a sign that it's okay. And secondly, what it's also turning out to be really helpful for is giving me like a little tiny bit of low stakes practice of holding yarn in my left hand, because I'm a British style knitter. I don't hold yarn in my left hand, but it would be kind of useful to know how, at least. I'm not, super interested in always knitting continents on some faster or whatever, but it's a good idea to know different ways to do things, isn't it? So a little bit of practice with that at the same time. Bonus! Hey, guess what? I made a mistake. Just yesterday, I recorded a little bit saying how easy and intuitive this colourwork pattern was and how it was going so well, and I've just realised I've made a mistake. But okay, the good thing is I think I've just realised in time to fix it by like one row. Okay, so here's what's happened. I added extra stitches to the width than what's given in the pattern. And basically I've not accounted for them in the correct way, so I added them. Well, I added them throughout, but I decided that where they're gonna end up is at the edges, right? The edges of the pattern, because the colourwork's in the middle. So if I added them at the edge, well, it doesn't affect the colourwork, right? Except I just added a new bit of colour on the edge. And because I've added it on the edge and the edge has got 4 extra stitches on it, that means this got added in 4 stitches too high or too far out. Either way, this distance is 4 stitches wider than this distance, and they have to be the same. And it's not so much that it's noticeable. I don't think you can really tell that this bit's wider than this bit so much, but it matters because if those distances aren't the same, then these X's aren't going to meet in the right place, are they? So this bit and this bit have to be the same width, and they're not, so I have to fix it. I know. The good thing is, here's what I think. I think I can fix it without going back. I'm going to try. Anyway, I'm going to try to fix it without going back, because here's what I think I can do. I think that I can just duplicate stitch this bit down here and add the blue lower, and then do it like correctly from this row on. From this row on, I'll make the blue the correct width, and then later I'll go back and duplicate stitch over these, because that's so tiny, look. I don't think anyone would know, because it's going to be like under the bottom there anyway, so you wouldn't really see it. But yeah, it does have to get corrected. So yeah, I know, obviously. Never mind me saying this was going so well. But at least I've caught it now and not in a week's time. All right, onwards. Project, and I absolutely will be, don't worry. I also want to put out this episode quite soon, so it's time I need to wrap up for now. So let me show you where I've got to. We are this far into the front portion of the T. I would say this is about a third of the way. I've just got to the portion where these two red diagonal lines meet, forming the center of the X, and then an inch, maybe a couple of inches higher, the blue lines are going to meet above. Now that I've sorted out the dimensions and those extra stitches I had, everything is, so far, going swimmingly. We're all on track. I'm happy with my bolder colours. I'm glad that I made this choice. Again, like I said about my mesh t-shirt, probably I wouldn't have picked these colours in a t-shirt in a shop. But I'm kind of glad that the constraints of using this yarn and these patterns is forcing me to do things that are slightly outside of my comfort zone. That's kind of a nice unintended side effect of this project. Now obviously it's the end of another month and I don't have a finished object in my knitting bag, So as you can tell, this is going to be more of a slow knitting vlog. I hope you're into it. I know that we're kind of accustomed to seeing vlogs and podcasts that have, finished objects every month or every other week or something. That's great. I'm very impressed by those people. They're amazing. Personally, I just don't have that much time to dedicate to knitting, nor am I that fast at it. So this is going to be, a slower type of vlog. I hope that you are still game to join me for the process, because that's what, for me, is really fascinating in all this. The reason I started doing this is because I thought the whole process of discovering these 80s patterns and using up all this old yarn would be really interesting, and I just wanted to share it. So I'm going to continue on my little personal project and my quest to use up this yarn. Thanks for sticking around, thanks for still being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. That would make me really happy, and it would also show the algorithm that you're interested in seeing more of this. And let me know, have you spotted any patterns in this episode that you would make? I would love to know your opinion. I'm kind of going in blind here and learning things as I go along, so any input would be greatly appreciated. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. May your stitches never fall off your needles.